Salient features of Indian Constitution. The Indian Constitution is unique in content as well as the spirit of the Constitution is also unique. The main feature of the Constitution is to provide a set of basic rules that allow for minimal coordination among members of society. The features of Indian Constitution are: lengthiest constitution. It is the lengthiest and the longest constitution in the world. It has 395 articles and 12 schedules. Also, about 90 articles have been added since 1951 and there have been more than 100 amendments. सबसे लंबा संविधान. यह दुनिया का सबसे लंबा संविधान है. इसमें 395 अनुच्छेद और 12 अनुसूचियां हैं. साथ ही 1951 से अब तक लगभग 90 अनुच्छेद जोड़े गए हैं और 100 से अधिक संशोधन हुए हैं. Drawn from various sources.
The Constitution of India has borrowed most of its provisions from the constitutions of various other countries as well as from the Government of India Act of 1935. About 250 provisions of the 1935 Act have been included in the Constitution. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar proudly acclaimed that the Constitution of India has been framed after ransacking all the known constitutions of the world. The philosophical part of the Constitution, fundamental rights and the directive principles of state policy, derive their inspiration from the American and Irish constitutions respectively.
The political part of the Constitution, the principle of cabinet government and the relations between the executive and the legislature have been largely drawn from the British Constitution. Blend of rigidity and flexibility. Constitutions are classified into rigid and flexible. A rigid constitution is one that requires a special procedure for its amendment, as for example the American Constitution.
A flexible constitution is one that can be amended in the same manner as the ordinary laws are made, as for example, the British Constitution.
The Indian Constitution is a unique example of the combination of rigidity and flexibility. A constitution may be called rigid or flexible on the basis of its amending procedure.
The Indian Constitution provides for 3 types of amendments ranging from simple to most difficult procedures depending on the nature of the amendment. Fundamental rights.
The Indian Constitution provides for fundamental rights to the Indian citizen which are guaranteed under Part 3. Articles 12 to 35. It is also called the Indian Bill of Rights. After the 44th Amendment Act 1979, there are presently 6 fundamental rights in our Constitution. It is to be noted that these fundamental rights are not absolute and are subject to certain limitations that are expressly mentioned in the Constitution itself. The 6 fundamental rights are: right to equality. This fundamental right provides for equality before law and equality of opportunity. It also ends discrimination and abolishes untouchability and titles. Right to freedom. This fundamental right further includes 6 kinds of freedoms. These are freedom of speech and expression, freedom to assemble peacefully without arms, freedom to form associations, freedom to move freely in India, freedom to reside in any part of India, freedom of adopting any profession, trade, or occupation. Right to freedom of religion. Thus, fundamental rights grants an individual a right to believe, profess, or worship any religion. The state does not have a common religion. It also guarantees the right to establish and maintain any religious institution. No person can be compelled to follow a particular religion. Cultural and educational rights. This fundamental right guarantees all the minorities a right to maintain, develop, and further teach their language and culture. It also provides them a right to establish, maintain, and administer their own educational institutions. Right against exploitation. This fundamental right prohibits forced labor, child labor, and human trafficking. It ensures protection to individuals against various human atrocities. Right to constitutional remedies. Article 32. This fundamental right is the heart and soul of all of the fundamental rights. It ensures effective enforcement of all the other fundamental rights and protection from violation of these rights. Under this article, the Supreme Court and High Court have two power to issue writs for enforcement of these rights. Fundamental duties. The original constitution did not provide for the fundamental duties of the citizens. Fundamental duties were added to our Constitution by the 42nd Amendment Act of 1976 on the recommendation of the Swaran Singh Committee. It lays down a list of 10 fundamental duties for all citizens of India. Later, the 86th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2002 added one more fundamental duty. Directive Principles of State Policy. According to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the Directive Principles of State Policy is a novel feature of the Indian Constitution. They are enumerated in Part 4 of the Constitution. The directive principles were included in our Constitution in order to provide social and economic justice to our people. India is a socialist state. India is a socialist state because the 42nd Amendment of the Constitution states the achievement of socialist goals through democratic and nonviolent means. India is a democratic state. India is a democratic state means that the citizens of India have the power to elect their representatives in the government and thus, the government is responsible to the people. India is a sovereign state. Indian constitution states that India is a sovereign state because it is absolutely independent and it is not under the control of any other state. It manages all of its internal and external affairs freely without any external forces. India is a secular state. India is a secular state as the state has no specific religion of its own. Every citizen is free to follow, practice, and profess the religion of their choice. Moreover, the state cannot discriminate amongst its citizens on the basis of religion. India is a republic. India is a republic because it is not ruled by a hereditary monarch, whereas the head of the state, the president, is elected by the people indirectly for a fixed period of 5 years.